case of methods, we will not make use of abstract keyword, because it is understood that inside an interface, methods are always fully abstract. It is always understood. So by default, they are abstract. By default, they are public. Okay. Methods inside an interface are are public by default. They are abstract by default. So that is why even if you don't use the public keyword, it will be public. Even if you don't make use of the abstract keyword, it is abstract. That is why we don't make use of the abstract keyword inside interfaces, just like we have done in case of abstract classes. If you see, we see here we make use of the abstract keyword. So wherever you are using the abstract keyword, that method is abstract, and wherever you are not using, those are regular methods. Because inside abstract classes, you can have a combination of both regular as well as abstract methods, right? That is why you have to mention which is a regular method, which is a abstract method. Fine. But in case of interfaces, you cannot have regular methods. You can have only abstract methods. So it is understood that whatever method you mention inside has to be abstract. Okay. So that is why you don't have to make use of the abstract keyword. Now here are some similarities and differences of an interface and a class. These are very important. So I have just added it in the note. First, we'll go to the similarities. An interface can contain any number of methods, just like a class can have. Okay. An interface is written in a file with a .java extension. Okay. With the name of the interface matching the name of the file. So this is what we do in case of classes also. The bytecode of an interface appears in a .class file. This is also true for classes. Interfaces appear in packages, and their corresponding bytecode file must be in a directory structure that matches the package name. So these are the similarities between interface and class. Now let us look at the differences. Okay. You cannot instantiate an interface. An interface does not contain any constructors. Abstract classes can contain constructors. Okay. Because abstract classes are not fully abstraction. They do not fully implement abstraction. Okay. So abstract classes may contain constructors, but interfaces can never contain constructors. Okay. Then all of the methods in an interface are abstract. An interface cannot contain instance fields. The only fields that can appear in an interface must be declared both static and final. So this is another thing, inside abstract class, you can have instance variables. Okay, you can have variables, data members inside abstract classes, or any, of course, inside a normal class, you can have it. You have used it. But in case of interfaces, apart from static and final instance variables, you cannot have any other variable. You know what static variables are. Yes, you know the use of static in case you have used static variables methods. What is a final variable? Or see, final is that, whenever final can be used with variables, methods, and classes, just like we have used static with variables, with methods, and with classes. Final can also be used with variables, methods, and classes. Okay. So talking about variables. So whenever you declare a variable as final, it means that, see, whenever you use a variable, whenever you declare a variable, you do initialization. Yes. Initialization means you assign a value to that particular variable. And it might happen that throughout the program execution, the value of that particular variable might keep changing. Yes. Suppose you have initialized a variable int I equal to 10. Then you have incremented the value I plus plus, or you later in the program, you might have, modified the value of I with some other values, or you might have, done a second initialization to that I. So it is possible. So throughout the program, that is the actual meaning of a variable. Variable means variable is that particular, it is that particular identifier which keeps changing. Okay, which can keep changing throughout the program execution, whereas constant is that whose value remains fixed throughout the program execution. So if you do not want the variable, okay, if you want the initial value to remain throughout the program execution, that is, you don't want the value of the variable to be changed after the first initialization, then you have to add the final keyword in front of that variable. So if you declare any variable as final, it means that at the very first initialization, whatever value you initialize or assign to that variable, that value will retain throughout the program execution and it cannot be changed. Okay, that is the use of final in case of variables. In case of methods, মই জাষ্ট কৈ আছো হা, এইখিনি জাষ্ট মানে মই এবাৰ জাষ্ট কৈ দিছো, মানে কৈ মই নিজে এবাৰ পঢ়ি ল'বা, জাষ্ট বুজি লোৱা আৰু সৰুকে মই কৈ থৈছো। Final can also be used with methods. Why? Because you see, you have used method overriding, you have used inheritance, you have seen there is a class A and then you have a class B, right? Class B is a child of class A. Suppose class A has got a function, okay? Say it has got a function display. Class A has got a function display and class B is a child of class A. So if class B extends child class A, automatically display will also be inherited, and then B also has got a method display. So you know that if a parent class and a child class has the same method, and if you create an object of the child class and you try to invoke that method, it is always the child class method that is invoked first. Yes, that is the overridden method is invoked first. It is, you have seen that, right? So you have class A with method display, class B, which is a child of class A with a method display, same methods. So now if you try to invoke the display method, okay, it is always the child class method which will be invoked first. Why? Because the initial method that the parent class had has got overridden by the child class. So it is always the overridden method which gets invoked. But suppose your parent class has a particular method that you would not want to get overridden by the child class, because the child class will always inherit all the properties of the parent class. Yes, so suppose there are two methods in the parent class, out of which one method you don't want to be, you don't want that the child class overrides that particular method. Okay, that you don't want that method to be overridden by the child class. So in that case, if you add the final keyword at the beginning of that particular method, then that method will never be overridden by the child class. So these are different, uh, ways of using final keyword. মই just সৰুকে কৈ থৈছো, তোমালোকে অলপ চাই ললে হ'ব। We'll also go through an example here. We have one example in interfaces having the final keyword. Next, what do we have? An interface is not extended by a class, it is implemented by a class. Yeah, this is what I said at the very beginning. ঠিক আছে, so এইকেইটা properties বুজি পাইছা চাগে ন? Difference between interface, abstract class or any normal class. Now we will directly go through an example. Here we have an example which I have given here. See, just give me 1 minute. Pig will implement this animal class. So rest is same. So when implementing, what will it have? It will simply take the methods, okay, because it is also inheritance, so it will simply get the methods from the interface class, and it will provide a body to those methods. It will provide body because these methods were empty. So now it is the responsibility of the child class Pig to provide a body to these empty methods. So likewise they have, it has provided some, message inside. Okay, and then finally we have a third class. I have named it as interface 1. Okay, so this, and I have saved it in its name only, so that is why for my convenience I have given it an interface 1. And also remember that whether it is an interface or abstract, all keywords must always be in small letters. That you have to remember. Okay, so this is not that interface, this is my interface. Okay, this is just a name. So interface 1 is a third class, okay, where we have the main method. So inside this we have first created an object of the pig class, my pig, and using that object I have tried to invoke the methods, okay, animal, sound and sleep. Accordingly the methods will be invoked. Now if you want to run and check it, See, first the animal sound was invoked, so I got the message, the peak says VV from that method. And the second is sleep got invoked, where we have Z, all Z's. Okay, so this is the program. It's a very simple program. So the interface will contain only empty methods. You simply have to create another method that will, implement that interface. Okay, that will simply implement that particular interface. That is it. Next, see, we have okay, so this is an example of multiple interfaces. I have added this here also. I have given many extra notes here, additional notes, so that you have a clear understanding of it. Like I said, this is important. Properties of interfaces. An interface is implicitly abstract. Implicitly means you don't have to explicitly mention the keyword abstract. G course mention the say by default it is abstract. You do not need to use the abstract keyword while declaring an instant and an interface. Each method in an interface is also implicitly abstract, so the abstract keyword is not needed. And methods in an interface are implicitly public. So although I have mentioned the public keyword somewhere, okay, in some methods inside the interface, but even if you don't mention, it will be public by default. এইবিলাক অলপমান চাই ল'বা তলৰবিলাক নোটছখিনি অলপ চাই ল'বা why and when to use interface এইবিলাক অলপ চাই ল'বা মই এইবিলাক বেছি টাইম স্পেন্ড নকৰোঁ. Next we have multiple interfaces. So just now we have seen a program with only one interface. It is also possible to have any number of interfaces in your program, and then you only need to have a single class that can implement all the interfaces. Okay, so yate I have given this program here. See, you have two interfaces, first interface and second interface, inside which you have two empty methods. Okay, my method and my other method. Okay, so these are the two interfaces with single methods each. Okay, empty methods. Then we have a demo class. Okay, a class which will implement both these two classes. Okay, so that is why first interface comma second interface. So you have to simply separate the two classes by a comma. If you have a third interface, you can do that by giving a comma and just mention the third interface. So you can have any number of interfaces, and you need only one class. You need only one class at the minimum to implement all the interfaces. Okay, so here you have the implementation. My method is of the first interface, so it's implemented here. Then my other method is from the second interface, it is implemented here. Then we have another class where we have the main method. Okay, we have created an object of the demo class here, and via that object we have tried to invoke both the methods. Okay, so if you try to run this program, you will have this output. Okay, so the method from the first interface says some text, and the method from the second interface says some other text. Okay, so this is how your second program is complete. Aru ki ase yate notes there dia ase de saba aru but some notes might be repeated also, I don't know, ek points rakhibo sabote. Okay, next we have another example here. We have another example. See, we have one interface. Okay, in1, fine, in1. Okay, in1 is one interface I have. In this program I have used only one interface. It's a single interface program. Then I have a variable a which has been declared as final. Okay, so this is a final variable a. Here I have used, so as I said, as you have seen so far, and as given in the note also, interfaces can have no instance variables. Okay, interfaces can have no instance variables apart from static and final variables. So either you can have a static variable inside your interface, because static, why you can have static variable? Because they have class scope, they do not have object scope, because you cannot instantiate your interfaces, right? So instantiating interfaces means what? You have to create object of that class interface, so you cannot do that. So either you can use static variables as they have class scope and not object scope, or final. Okay, so here we have used the final keyword. So it's a final variable a whose value is 10, which means that even if you try to change the value of a during the program, it will never be changed. It will remain 10 throughout. Okay, so basically it has been declared as a constant, like it's a final value and it will not change. Okay, so it is possible to have final instance variables inside interfaces. Followed by that, we have a simple method with no body. Okay, and so it is understood that it is public by default and it is abstract by default. Okay, so this is one instance variable final, and this is one empty body method. Next, I have a class which will implement this in one. So here I will first implement this method. Okay, this is a message that I will display. And then you have the main method, and through that main method you are trying to create an object of this class, and through that you will first invoke the display method, and then you will try to print the value of a. Okay, so that is what is done. It is also another very simple example. The So as you can see, first the method got displayed, and then the value of a, which is 10. Okay, next এটা আছে অলপ দীঘলীয়া চাই, but এইটো একদম simple হয়. It is a real life program. Okay, problem. See, you have a vehicle. Okay, you have a vehicle, and that interface, it's an interface, and this interface has got three methods: change gear, speed up, and apply brakes. Okay, change gear, speed up, and apply brakes. So these are three empty methods that I have in this interface vehicle. Now this vehicle will be implemented by two different classes. One is bicycle and one is bike. So in case of bicycle, these will be different. Okay, changing gears, speed up, applying brakes will be different. And in case of bike, these three will be different. Okay, so I have two different child classes, bicycle and bike. So first I have bicycle. Okay, so bicycle implements vehicle. Here I have taken two instance variables, speed and gear. So accordingly, so this is the change gear method inside which I will be assigning. So I will be basically passing arguments from the main method here. Okay, I will be passing the values from the main method here. So whatever value will be passed to that particular method, okay, that method will be assigned. ठीक है, so I am passing values from the main method. So yeah, that means for new gear. Okay, so these are some arguments which will be passed values from the main method, and those values will be assigned to gear. Here in case, speed will be added to increment. Okay, and then decrement will be deducted from speed. Okay, accordingly we have defined this particular methods here. Okay, they have the bodies implemented here. Okay, and then finally we have a method print states, where we will simply display the speed and gear. Okay, then in case of bike, the same thing has been done, but we will be passing different values. So based on that, again, okay, so these are the bodies for speeding up, changing gear, and applying brakes. Accordingly, we have the implementation here, and we have a print state method, same method here also. Okay, a same method which will display the speed and the gear values. Okay, finally, so if you see, the previous example was, this was an example where two interfaces were implemented by a single class, right? And this is one example where one interface is implemented by two classes. Okay, accordingly values will be different. So first we have another class interface 4, where we have the main function. So here we will be creating objects for both bicycle and bike, and accordingly we will be invoking the methods. for each of the classes. Okay, we will be passing some parameters, some values, and we will be invoking those methods. And accordingly, we will have the values for print states displayed. First, we will, first you invoke the print states for bicycle and then for bike. Accordingly, your values for speed and gear will get displayed. It's a simple example. Values already দিয়া আছে. You can also have user defined values if you wish to. Delay hole. It just used to দেখাব লগা হৈছে. For bicycle, okay, speed is 2, gear is 2, and for bike, speed is 1, gear is 1. So some default values have been, some values have been passed. Based on that, the values are calculated for speed and gear. Hit rate. Acha, is interface clear till here? ইয়াতে এটা এক্সাম্পল দিয়া আছে, এইটো এটা সৰু এক্সাম্পল এনে দি দিছিলো মই হা এইটো কিহৰ এক্সাম্পল আচ্ছা হে এনিমেল ক্লাস্টারে হয় এনিমেল টু দিয়া নাই ইয়াতে আচ্ছা is it clear till here বুজিছানে interfaces
Yes ma'am.
Anybody has any doubt